If you lose power and you don't have a generator to keep the fridge and freezer running, make sure you keep the doors closed to keep the cold in. Of course, a full freezer can keep the cool temps for about 48 hours, but a refrigerator will only keep food cold for about 4. Now, if the power comes back within 4 hours, your food should all be safe to eat. But if you lost power for longer than that, the first thing you should toss are your perishable foods like your meat, seafood, dairy, or any leftovers that you had. All right, WESH 2 continues to track Milton as it marches towards Florida.
Our team of first warning meteorologists are going over all the data to fine-tune the forecast. We'll be on air all day Tuesday as Central Florida makes its final preparations ahead of landfall. Stick with us. Our continuing coverage continues next.
You're watching continuing coverage of Milton from WESH 2.
Right now, Hurricane Milton has weakened slightly, but this storm still could have devastating impacts on the Tampa Bay region.
People are heeding warnings to get ready. Today from coast to coast, stores filled with people gathering supplies and hitting the road. Look at the shelves here empty in this store in Tampa as time runs out to restock hurricane kits.
Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi and meteorologist Cam Tran join us now at the desk to give us the latest on this storm. It did go down with the wind some, but this could just be it cycling up to a stronger eye wall.
Yeah, so we're taking this weakening with a grain of salt here. This is very normal with a powerful hurricane like Milton. It undergoes eye wall replacement. So we believe this weakening is due to that. But once that replacement cycle is done, it could actually get stronger again, Tony.
Yeah, it could go right back up to 180. But it's very difficult to stay at 180, no matter whether it's doing eye wall replacement or not. It needs a lot of fuel. You have to have the perfect conditions. But this storm is, it's a wow. I mean, it's how many times did we say, oh my God, is this really happening?
Yeah, I mean, the pressure, the sustained winds, this is definitely a rarity, I think, a very unique storm.
Yeah, so let's put it into perspective here. Even though we know it's a powerful Category 5, overall, we do think down the road that this is going to weaken. But for me, my biggest concern, my biggest fear is just how much interaction with that upper level trough is there actually going to be. We want that trough to come down. We want that upper level wind shear to significantly increase and significantly weaken this storm. And when you look at the cone, with it coming ashore, you're going from a Cat 5 to Cat 3 is good. But you still need to remember, this is a major hurricane at landfall that could potentially bring higher surge into the Tampa Bay area than we saw with Helene. And as it's moving off towards the east-northeast, the latest projections are showing the winds around the Four Corners could be around 90, maybe even 95 miles an hour in some of the gusts. Take a look now at the latest eye. The eye is kind of filled in a little bit tonight underneath that eye wall replacement. And when you look at the back side of it, almost looks like there's a little push of wind on the southwest side. So we'll watch the trends on that. It is skirting along the coast and interacting with land. So that as well is helping us out. It's about 650 miles southwest now of Tampa. Staying at Cat 5, we think, through very early Wednesday morning. And then the landfall still looks to be about midnight Thursday morning. Now the model tracks and trends for the most part pretty consistent. Cam and I have noted, at least on the tropical models, a slight push off towards the south, but our global models and our in-house futurecasts take this from Tampa over towards Orlando and then back towards the Kennedy Space Center. And because of that, there's really no change. Hurricane warnings, hurricane watches, for me, the biggest concern is going to be how strong is this going to be at landfall. Get those preps done, get them done by tomorrow, and then we'll just have to wait and see what we really get Wednesday night and Thursday. But the trend on the winds tonight for us here in Central Florida, Cam, is a little bit stronger.
It's actually really concerning, especially when you factor in how saturated the ground is. I'll explain the two factors in a second. But right now, as we take a look at our satellite and radar, just very overcast skies. Most of us are remaining dry tonight, other than some light drizzle. But we are going to see that flood threat remain on the high side for Wednesday, though. You can see all of Central Florida under a level of 3 out of 4, meaning we are expecting flooding as Milton makes its way onshore. And that is why we have a flood watch for all of Central Florida through Thursday. And this is important. We've already gotten in Central Florida since Sunday morning. Some areas have picked up well over 3, 4, 5 inches of rainfall already. And then on top of that, we're looking at additional 4 to 6 inches for areas Orlando on south, areas north of Orlando, including Marion, as well as Sumter, Lake counties, Flagler, Volusia counties. You're looking at an additional 5 to 8 inches with some localized areas getting more than 10 inches. So just think about that. The ground's saturated. Now we're adding basically another half foot of rain on top of that. And then you're bringing a hurricane over that. So we are expecting trees to be down, branches to be down. And so that's going to bring some likely widespread power outages the farther west along the Gulf Coast. But even here in the Orlando metro, we're looking at power outages being very likely here. So if you haven't made those preps already, getting extra batteries, lanterns, whatever you need to do to get those preps ready, you have time to do so tomorrow, because things will quickly go downhill on Wednesday. And speaking of those winds, I'll show you how strong they'll get with our Futurecast and the timing of the rain coming up.
Cam, thank you. Tampa's still recovering from Hurricanes Helene, storm surge and the flooding there. And now the area is rushing to clean up any debris from that storm to stay safe during this one.
WESH 2's Justin Shecker live in Treasure Island tonight. Justin, what are you seeing there as people prepare for a possible direct hit?
Jesse and Stu, I can tell you the people across the Tampa Bay area are taking this storm very seriously. As both you guys know, I lived and reported here in Tampa Bay for 4 years. Here on the coast in Pinellas County, this is home of some of the most beautiful beach towns, resorts. But tonight, these hotels, like the one across the street, they've already been evacuated. People are taking this seriously, in part because they saw the devastation from Helene 2 weeks ago, where sadly 12 people were killed from the storm surge here in Pinellas County. We're next to this marina and resort here in Treasure Island. I just want to point out this large pile of debris. It looks like installation inside of the walls that were torn out from this hotel to my right that already was flooded 2 weeks ago. And walking me this way, there are just mattresses, furniture, chairs that were flooded and destroyed from that storm 2 weeks ago. So here in Pinellas County, the evacuation order went into effect about noon today. Over in Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, they have an evacuation order there as well. And again, just knowing so many people who live and work in this area, they are worried. We know the last major storm to take a direct hit on Tampa Bay was more than 100 years ago. And really, they're bracing for the worst here, as the storm surge is expected to be even worse for Milton than it was from Helene. So we're going to be out here in the Tampa Bay area the next couple of days, just seeing more of the preparations. But I can tell you, most people, they've already left. They've already evacuated from Treasure Island 2 days before Hurricane Milton. Live tonight on Treasure Island, I'm Justin Shecker, WESH 2 News.
Justin, thank you. Hurricane Milton has a chance to make landfall in Tampa. If it does, it would make history.
Yeah, this could be the first hurricane to make landfall in the Tampa Bay area since 1921. That storm also hit in October as a strong Category 3. NOAA reports there was 11 feet of storm surge, with Gulf waves crashing in the streets of Ybor City, and a significant number of buildings were destroyed in Tampa. 8 people died in the storm, nearly half from drowning. Since then, plenty of storms have passed just off the coast, like Helene, made landfall to the north or south and passed over the city after making landfall on the east coast. But Tampa has been spared a direct hit for 103 years. That, of course, could change this week.
Meanwhile, Tampa International Airport will close tomorrow.
And they will reopen when it is safe to do so. They encourage people to check with their airlines for flight updates there. Right now, Orlando International Airport flights are still operating, but that's going to change. This is video from inside the airport terminals Monday. Many people trying to get out ahead of the storm's arrival. Officials say all airport operations will stop Wednesday morning at 8 because of Milton. We'll talk to one gentleman visiting from England who's getting out before the storm, but this is not his first experience with a hurricane.
I think probably about 15 years ago when I was here, I think it was Hurricane Jean, and we was last out here and we was like on a curfew for like 2 days. So we did then, but yeah, not since.
Officials at MCO say operations will resume once it is safe to do so. Meantime, today, people across Central Florida broke out their shovels to fill up sandbags.
People in Osceola County flocked to Osceola Heritage Park to fill up. WESH News' Tony Atkins is out there all day, joins us now live. Tony, the county made some adjustments ahead of this storm.
Yeah, Stuart, one of the biggest adjustments they made in the past 24 hours was the decision to cancel schools for tomorrow, giving people as much time as possible to prepare for this hurricane. Long lines at Osceola Heritage Park as people waited to get inside to the sandbagging site.
We
parked here by 1:15, 1:30, so 45 minutes to an hour.
Inside the site, dozens of people got their sand, and a few people stayed longer helping others get theirs.
He was kind enough to let us borrow one of his shovels, and then he's actually helping us. So neighbors helping neighbors.
For a moment, the line stopped as trucks had to work through the vehicles to bring and dump more sand. We spoke to one man who was near the front of the line when it all stopped.
Good 25, 30 minutes.
And how long have you been in Heritage Park trying to get in here?
Well over an hour, for sure.
Once the staff hours at the site ended, dozens of cars were still waiting on OHP grounds. They were allowed in, but the people outside Heritage Park will need to come back on Tuesday.
Helene did not do much of anything, so Milton's decided to make up for it.
Wade Meyer of Kissimmee says he believes this storm should be taken seriously, and that's why so many people waited hours to get those sandbags. Concern level 1 through 10?
9. And only not because of the storm, but because of the debris and because there will be a lot of flooding because the ground's already saturated. So there's going to be quite a bit of flooding.
And if you do plan on coming to Osceola Heritage Park to get your sandbags, they're going to open up again here at 9 o'clock, but they're only going to be open from 9 until 12. So not as many hours to get your sandbags, but again, it is an opportunity to come and get what you need ahead of this storm. I'm reporting live in Osceola County, Tony Atkins, WESH 2 News.
All right, Tony, thank you. Meantime, Flagler County trying to make sure everyone is prepared before Milton gets here. Sheriff Rick Staley says the county does not currently have any evacuation orders. However, people living in mobile homes should be ready for potential evacuations, and shelters might be available soon.
A decision on opening shelters will be made in the next day or so by Flagler County Emergency Management. Since our last update, Flagler Schools has made the decision to close from Wednesday, October 9th through Friday, October 11th. So stay home and stay safe.
Other communities in Central Florida are under orders to leave. Volusia County is issuing evacuation orders starting at 8 a.m. Wednesday. This includes all areas east of the Intercoastal Waterway, manufactured and mobile homes, campsites, and RV parks, and low-lying areas and other areas prone to flooding. The county is also implementing a curfew from 8 p.m. Wednesday to 8 a.m. Thursday. Marion County has also issued evacuation orders for anyone living in mobile homes, RVs, modular type homes, and anyone who simply feels unsafe. The county wants you to know if you live in these places and stay, emergency personnel will not be able to respond to your location until it's deemed safe to do so.
Right now, schools are preparing to close their doors for the storm. We've got a list for you. Volusia County schools will have early release tomorrow, Tuesday, and will be closed Wednesday and Thursday, rather today, really. Marion, Brevard, Orange, and Seminole County schools will close Wednesday and Thursday. Sumter, Lake, Osceola, and Polk County schools will close today through Thursday. Flagler will close Wednesday through Friday. As far as colleges and universities, UCF is suspending classes online and in person today through Thursday. Valencia College and Daytona State College will also be closed those days. Stetson University in DeLand is canceling classes today and Wednesday ahead of fall break on Thursday. Rollins College canceling classes all week, and campus will actually be evacuated starting tonight. College of Central Florida closing at 5 p.m. today and beginning evacuations. They'll stay closed through Thursday. Right now, lots of people topping off their tanks before the storm. We take a look at gas pumps in our area trying to keep up with demand.
Plus, our first warning weather team has the latest track of Hurricane Milton as it churns out in the Gulf.
From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
All right, it's 12:15 after midnight, but you can still see a lot of people are heading eastbound. This is I-4 near SeaWorld. People leaving the Tampa region, evacuating, some under mandatory evacuation orders, others just simply trying to get out of the way as in preparations of what's currently a Category 5 Milton. Of course, we'll continue to follow the evacuation as people continue to leave that region. Right now, though, many people are topping off their cars ahead of the storm.
The storm is still days away, but some gas pumps here in Orange County are already empty. WESH 2's Michelle Meredith live in Winter Park tonight. Michelle, what are you seeing so far?
Well, we sent our roving photojournalist Jake Arthur out to see what's going on, and he discovered that quite a few gas stations are out of gas. Now, we are at the Wawa in Winter Park at 1792 and Lee Road, and you can see that all the pumps are wrapped in yellow caution tape. Now, we found gas stations from Castleberry to Winter Park to Orlando out of gas. There are the familiar long lines already, the dreaded out-of-service bags on the handles. People who were lucky enough to find gas were thrilled and surprised at the same time.
How many gas stations did you have to try before you found
This is my 4th one, and the rest of my family tried all the ones in Lake Mary, and those are all closed. So I feel lucky that I found this, and kind of happy that I'm finally reached my place in line. So,
and
yeah.
you feel
Now, one gas station employee told us that there are trucks coming with more gas, but the problem is they just don't know when they're going to arrive. Live in Orange County, Michelle Meredith, WESH 2 News.
All right, Michelle, thank you. Bringing back Cam and Tony. You guys, we've been talking about this slight weakening, slight drop in the wind speeds, but what you guys are looking at is this could be a possible eyewall replacement here.
Yes, so this is very temporary, and this is actually very common with powerful hurricanes like Helene and even Milton. We saw that. It's basically a way for it to kind of reshift itself, get its battery pack recharged again, actually. So we could see it come back, actually become strong again, back to winds of 180 miles per hour, Tony.
Yeah. Stu, you were just asking me about the wind field.
Yeah.
And I think his question was, do you think it's going to grow? And the answer is, I think it is. Cam thinks it does, or will. And the reason for that is it comes north, the winds on top of it are going to kind of force it to be expanded off towards the east, kind of like what we saw with Helene, but this is a smaller version of Helene. So the winds will expand out. Now, the one thing that we are noticing now that we're starting to lock in on these tracks is around the core, the winds appear to be holding themselves, the integrity, at least through the 4 corners, if not even east of there, that there's a chance we could be looking at 90, 95, maybe even 100-mile-an-hour wind gust in that area. There is no doubt with 85 or more that there are going to be power outages. So people need to understand that. So that's what we're trying to say. Not trying to scare you, but the trend on the winds has certainly been a lot higher, especially along that corridor. So here's Milton right now, 11 o'clock advisory, and there's what's going on. You can see powerful Category 5 hurricane that's going to build off towards the northeast here once we get into, let's call it Tuesday evening, and then gradually and slowly weaken, but still come ashore as a major hurricane. Again, we are not going to belittle this storm. Going from a Cat 5 to Cat 3 is big, but coming ashore as a major hurricane, especially near the Tampa Bay area, that's going to have some big-time problems, not just along the coast, but back through the interior. And there's now growing concern for a big core of strong winds coming across the peninsula. Now, one of the things we saw with the hurricane hunters is the pressure jumping up. And, you know, when we saw that advisory, it's actually jumped to 914. So there's the trough. There's that front. 2 things going on here. Drier air trying to work in here on the backside and off towards the north. And notice the winds coming due south, at least at 500 millibars. As this continues to move up towards the east-northeast, it will begin to interact with that. That's going to cause the wind field to grow off towards the east, but it's also going to gradually weaken the storm. Let's take a look now at the distance from Tampa Bay, about 615 miles. The eye has filled in tonight, and I believe it's twofold. The eyewall replacement and this interaction with the northern portion of the peninsula there is actually helping to do that as well. It's a 1-2 punch on the storm. Now, don't be fooled by that. Once this begins to break away from the peninsula, you're going to see that eye again, either it's late tonight or early tomorrow morning. So we're bracing for that. We have hurricane warnings and we have hurricane watches all across central Florida. There's going to be a tremendous amount of wind on the northern side of the of rain, I should say, on the northern side of the storm. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of wind where the core of that storm comes across. So more rain to the north, more wind over central and southern portions of our viewing area. And we've been talking about the surge and how it's growing, and that could lead to some more evacuations there in Flagler County as well. Wind starts picking up with squalls Wednesday late morning on into the afternoon. The worst of the weather there is going to be overnight into Thursday. Tornado threat, same time frame. And then last but not least, we can actually update that. If for me, I would say 5 to 10 plus up north, 4 to 8 km down south. Again, north of the storm, where you get that coupling there, sometimes you get a lot more rain.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Tony. So if you're on the northern edge of the system, you're going to get some higher rain amounts. And also what we're keeping an eye on are the power outages. So I mentioned earlier, we are expecting power outages, especially areas along the coast where it's expected to make landfall. But even here in the orange, which includes most of Central Florida, power outages are very, very likely. Let me show you the reason why. As Tony mentioned earlier, even as the system makes its way onshore, it is going to weaken, but it doesn't weaken that quickly enough to really see the winds die down that fast. So here's a look at Wednesday night around 6 o'clock. You can see winds already around 50 miles per hour Winter Haven, around 40 in Kissimmee, 40 to 45 in the Villages. And then as we go into late Wednesday to Thursday morning, right around midnight to 1 a.m. as that center circulation begins to move its way onshore. Look at these winds. 91 mile per hour wind gusts in Kissimmee, 83 in Orlando, 86 in St. Cloud. Guys, that's enough to cause damage, power outages, lines to be down. We're also looking at, as we continue into the early morning hours Thursday, here's like around 4 to 5 a.m. Still looking at some areas experiencing Category 1 strength winds. And then finally, Milton begins to work its way offshore as we go into 8 to 9 o'clock Thursday morning. But we're still seeing on the backside of it tropical storm strength winds before it finally clears on out. Still quite breezy through the day on Wednesday, but at least we're not talking about damaging winds anymore at that point. So as we go county by county with you, we'll start with the I-4 counties. First, we're looking at wind gusts well over 85 miles per hour in Orlando or in Orange County. And that does include Orlando. Sustained winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Additional 5 to 8 inches of rainfall expected for folks up in Seminole County. Wind gusts well over 80 miles per hour. So for Chuliota, Longwood, Sanford, even out east towards Oviedo, winds sustained of 55 to 65. Wednesday night to Thursday morning will be the worst of the weather. 5 to 8 inches of additional rainfall on top of everything we've seen. And then also into Osceola County, I think you'll see winds well over 85 miles per hour. Could even see gusts over 90 in Osceola County. So folks in Osceola County, I would prepare for being without power. If you do have power, consider yourself lucky. Winds sustained of 65 to 75 miles per hour. Rainfall about 4 to 7 inches in addition to everything we've picked up already. So here's a look at your Central Florida certified most accurate forecast here. Conditions will go downhill quickly on Wednesday, especially after about dinner time, and then continue to go downhill through Thursday morning before finally we get some sunshine this week. And if I did not get to your counties, don't worry, we'll cover you this hour. I'll just have more time in my next weather hit to cover you guys. Don't worry.
Right off the top, just wanted to get you an update. Milton is now a Category 5 hurricane. This is among, if not the fastest intensifying hurricane on record.
Giving you the advanced warning you need to be prepared.
Central Florida is in full preparation mode.
We've got team coverage this afternoon to get you and your family prepared.
Keeping you informed as the storm develops.
Now's the time to get prepared. It means not only protecting your home, but also keeping yourself and your loved ones safe.
For continuing coverage of Milton, stay with WESH 2 and First Warning Weather. From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
Right now, hospitals on the West Coast are making sure their patients are secure before Milton makes landfall.
Christy Soto from our sister station in Fort Myers is at a hospital in Port Charlotte where their evacuations have already started.
Right now, we are at Short Point Hospital in Port Charlotte, where they are evacuating their patients. You can see right here that they have started evacuations. We're learning that they are evacuating patients, 10 patients per hour, and taking them to Physicians Regional in Naples. That's about a 45-minute drive. So right now we know that the Short Point Punta Gorda Hospital has been evacuated, and they are starting evacuations right now of the Short Point Hospital in Port Charlotte. They want to make sure that these patients are safe during Hurricane Milton. During Hurricane Helene, there was flooding in Punta Gorda, so they're trying to make sure that these patients are safe. I'm reporting in Port Charlotte. I'm Christy Soto. Back to you.
Christy, thank you. We have more team coverage tonight as Milton makes its way toward Florida.
And as we head to break, another live look at the satellite image rotation. Storm system may be going through a new eye wall phase. Our team of meteorologists will give you a full breakdown coming up next.
From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
And this is new video of Hurricane Milton tonight. This is satellite imaging that shows how quickly that eye wall is moving. Right now, Hurricane Milton making its way toward the Tampa Bay area and will land as a major hurricane.
Joined now by Chief Meteorologist Tony Madoffy and First Warning Meteorologist Cam Tran. What's the big story that people need to know at this late hour?
Well, for me, we're noticing the winds, and we think now that the models are really starting to latch on to where this is going to go, and they're, I think, starting to really pick up on what the real winds might be across our area. And that's something we kind of knew something was a little bit off. You got a Cat 5 that's going to wind down, but if it comes in as a major hurricane, you're not going to have 65, 75 mile an hour. It's going to be higher than that. So that's what we're starting to, I think, we're starting to get the beginnings of really what the winds might be here. And tonight we've got an uptick in that, Cam.
Yeah, I think we want to prepare folks that consider yourself lucky if you have power. Let's just put it that way. I mean, if you have power after this is all said and done, help your friends and neighbors, because we are expecting likely to widespread power outages because of several reasons, not just the winds, but we've had days of rain. This rain started on Sunday, and it's been on and off since then. And then we're going to get more rain from Milton, so the ground's going to be saturated. And now you're bringing Category 1, possibly Category 2 strength winds in here. Think about it. Trees are going to fall over. Branches are going to fall over. Falling over on power lines. Power lines, I mean, it's just, we're expecting power outages.
So we're at the precision point. What I mean by that is now we're really fine-tuning on where the core of the strongest winds are going to be and really what that speed is going to be. For me, based on what I'm seeing, I think you'll have Cat 2 winds, Sumter over towards Polk, Lake, the Four Corners area. Then you'll see as it moves east, it's going to wind down a little bit more because it's over land. Then there's the other caveat on the northern side of the wind field. There's going to be this big bulge of rain in our northern counties. They won't get as strong as the winds down south, but they're going to get some wind. But I think the bigger concern in Marion, Flagler, northern Volusia is going to be the rain.
Yeah.
And remember, we got the St. John's there too. So. Yeah, so a lot of moving parts. Let's take a look down at Milton here for you. I want to kind of show you what's going on. There's your Cat 5. That'll stay at Cat 5 all day tomorrow. Or at least it's forecast to, and I don't see any reason for that to change. Then, as it begins to move now off towards the northeast, it will start to encounter some wind shear. Wind shear is not the friend of anything tropical that's trying to develop. It will weaken it. Now, when you go from a Cat 5 to a Cat 3, yeah, that's good. But you still have to remember, Cat 3, you're talking about winds of 125 miles an hour. That's going to create a lot of surge, and that is also going to create a lot of power outages, and it's going to bring a lot of rain, and it's going to, bring a lot of wind. And, when you have wind and you don't clean up your backyard, you have flying obstacles. That's why we tell you, take care of all your precautions tonight. There's your wind radii, 615 miles to the southwest of the Tampa Bay area. Look at that buzzsaw. It is still going, kind of filled in a little bit there, but that eye is going to come back. And once this thing starts to make the turn to the east-northeast, you'll begin to see it break away from the land. The eye wall replacement will be done, and this thing will be a very powerful hurricane again tomorrow. Now, one piece of energy has come across the Keys. We've had a lot of rain here in central Florida today, but not all at one time, which is good. Look at the drop off in the intensity now once it makes landfall. So for us, hurricane warnings and hurricane watches up for all of central Florida. One final graphic here for you. Again, the surge Wednesday night, Thursday. The wind picks up in squalls Wednesday, probably late morning on into the afternoon. Peak wind gusts 80 to 90, maybe even higher than that in the Four Corners. Tornado risk is going to be there in Cam, last but not least. 4 to 8 or even higher amounts in Flagler, Volusia, and on into Marion counties.
Yeah, we're talking about on top of all that storm surge as well. Yes, storm surge even on the Atlantic side of the system, because again, it's going to cross the peninsula and then emerge again on the Atlantic side. So we are expecting storm surges even on our Atlantic coastlines. But the worst of the storm surge will definitely be on the Gulf side, where in Tampa Bay, they're looking at 15-foot storm surge. That is way higher than what they got from Helene. So we are expecting really just catastrophic storm surge on top of whatever they dealt with in Helene already. And then on the other side here, on our Atlantic side, we're looking about 2 to 5 foot storm surge for those areas from Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard counties. In addition to storm surge, in addition to rain, in addition to flooding, we're also watching the risk for severe weather, especially Wednesday afternoon into evening. You can see I-4 on southeast, where we'll be in the front right quadrant of the storm, so that's where we could see some spin-ups. Still under the threat for severe weather for areas north, but not as high of a threat, a level 1 out of 5 versus a level 2 out of 5 for areas I-4 on southward. So if you haven't made those preps yet, we still have time to prepare for today. It's technically today now, so we are going to see high temperatures of low 80s with on and off rain showers. And we are going to see that wet weather is long gone. Coming up in about 10 minutes, County, I'll show you the areas along I-95 and I-75 next time I see you. Come here.
All right, Cam, Tony, thank you. Meantime, the U.S. Geological Survey is deploying wave sensors at 8 locations across Florida ahead of Milton. They're from Naples to Crystal River, including one under the Skyway Bridge in St. Pete. The data these gauges collect can help emergency officials track storm surge in real time to work to save lives and property.
For many people across the state, today was spent getting last-minute supplies at grocery and hardware stores. We're, of course, talking about everything from extension cords to generators to tarps. WESH's Greg Fox is at the Lowe's in Sanford. Greg, you were there when they were still open. A lot of people in there today piling up the plywood.
Yeah, and they really just closed down a couple of hours ago, and they're going to be back open at 6 a.m. That's why, because they had all of this plywood here delivered late yesterday afternoon. There was another couple of piles here that were gone, piles inside that were being cut, and now they're out the door in trucks and on their way to homes. And we've got more construction materials here that should help people to prepare for this hurricane. The power saws inside this Lowe's home improvement store in Sanford were running well into the evening as people crowded in to buy plywood and hardware to cover the glass around their homes, from sliding doors to smaller windows, hoping to protect their properties from Hurricane Milton. Jerry Minns hadn't boarded up since Charlie 20 years ago.
Actually, it's been a while since I've boarded up. I've only boarded up a couple of times. Charlie was one of them, you know, but this time we say could be a bad one, so just be prepared.
I got a generator.
John Douglas debated boarding up, but doesn't want to take chances.
This one kind of scares a lot of people right now. I got my family members calling me from New York, you know, so I'm telling them I'm doing everything I possibly can to be prepared. So
because this one, they're coming in for everything, anything they can get their hands on that might either illuminate or block water in any way, shape, or form.
During an afternoon news conference, county officials told people to take this hurricane seriously and prepare now.
Take this event very seriously. It's a great day if we don't have a huge impact, but all indications are we are going to have high winds, we are going to be out of power, we are going to have trees down, and again, it's about compassion and patience and understanding that we're all going through this together.
For those who do evacuate, the sheriff is promising to protect homes and businesses from looters.
Do all that we can to make sure that your homes, your properties are protected with increased enforcement, surveillance within those areas.
We're inside the Emergency Operations Center in Seminole County, and it is absolutely packed. It's got actually more personnel than we had about a week and a half ago with Hurricane Helene. In fact, this table right here was empty because they weren't dealing with some shelter planning and other things that were going on for Helene that we are dealing with Milton. Part of the job was getting shelter trailers prepped with equipment to be placed at schools Wednesday that will handle general population evacuees, those with special medical needs, and those with pets.
These specific schools have been hardened, so not all schools are used. Specific schools, we've hardened those schools with shutter systems, hardened doors, hardened windows, so these are much more protected than even other schools.
The county is also preparing for the storm's aftermath with a debris field near Black Hammock Trailhead that should be able to handle the estimated 3 to 10 million cubic yards of debris, enough to fill 33 spaceship Earths at Disney's Epcot. And that door is closed now, but at this home improvement center and also at others and other hardware stores tomorrow, this is going to be open at 6 a.m. Some places might be open a little bit earlier. In fact, as we get closer and closer to the Gulf Coast, those places may open earlier for people who are not evacuating. As far as hotels in Seminole County, they have about 6,000 hotels available as of mid-afternoon yesterday, but those are going quickly. Live in Seminole County, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Greg, thank you. Power outages are the major concern with Milton. If you do lose power, make sure you know how to safely set up your generator. It can take just 5 minutes for a generator to produce enough carbon monoxide, that's the odorless and colorless gas, to kill you. So to be safe, make sure you set up your generator at least 20 feet away from your home and make sure the exhaust is pointed away from your property. If you have a gas generator, make sure you turn it off and let it fully cool down before fueling it back up. And never run a generator inside of your garage or your home. Now, Lake County is also bracing for flooding from Hurricane Milton. The St. Johns River has been overflowing its banks in Astor during afternoon storms, and there's concerns that lakes and Tavares could also spill into neighborhoods.
Now, WESH 2's Haley Crumble home went to Tavares High School. That will soon be a safe place for people to stay.
Tavares High School is empty now, but come noon tomorrow, this will become one of the county's 15 shelters. And students in the district here, they don't have school for the rest of the week. People we talk to are preparing while they can. In Lake County, Monday was spent getting ready for Milton.
I'm out here, just getting some sandbags.
We're trying to get the water, obviously food for the kids.
Just bring in lawn furniture in.
A lot of the folks we talked to didn't have much of an issue with Helene. They think Milton might be a different story.
We just got a little wind, just a little debris off of the trees and stuff. That's about it. So hopefully this is more like that. But I don't think it is.
They're saying it's coming up I-4. I'm kind of concerned about that since we're close to I-4.
So for people like Frances Ortiz, who has a family member that needs power because of health issues, she's ready to move to one of the county's 15 shelters if her home loses power.
Mainly for my family, definitely.
And while a shelter is her backup plan, an RV is his.
Worried about power outages, just want to be prepared. This is going to be the second home if we lose power at our main home.
He felt lucky he was looking for diesel. People we talked to looking for regular were having a hard time finding it.
How many gas stations have you been to today?
2 or 3.
And have any luck at any of them?
No, not.
I have tried 5 different gas stations. It's like a nightmare.
When we caught up with Michaela Hope Saunders, she was on empty. No car fuel, but
it's like nightmare fuel.
She wants to be gassed up and ready to go if she needs to be. She lives in a mobile home park on a lake.
So if the water rises, it's kind of scary for me. So I do want to be able to get an escape. And if I lose power, I want to be able to charge stuff. I don't have like a generator or extra battery.
Some people told us they'll try again for gas, and they'll keep preparing and praying.
We're praying now. Get out of here. Don't come our way, that's for certain.
Some of the county's shelters can accommodate pets or people that have special needs. We posted more information about those shelters on WESH.com. In Lake County, Haley Crumble home, WESH 2 News.
Our coverage of Hurricane Milton continues.
And before we go to break, a live look over I-75, where people are making their way through central Florida as they evacuate from the West Coast. WESH 2 News, we'll be right back.
I've been doing this for almost 20 years in Central Florida, and the best advice I can give you, be prepared. At WESH 2, our first warning weather team works to make sure you have the most accurate information so that you can make informed decisions to keep you and your family safe. It's part of our process. Paired with experience and the latest technology, we are all here for you.
Stay with WESH 2 for continuing coverage of Milton. Download the WESH 2 app to get updates now. From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
Okay, so Milton might be making landfall on Florida's west coast, but the east coast is also preparing for flooding. Up to 5 feet of storm surge could inundate the eastern coastline.
As WESH 2's Gail Pascal Brown reports, places like Edgewater already dealing with flooding issues from afternoon storms, and people are stocking up on sandbags to try and keep the water out of their homes.
There are several locations in Volusia County to get sandbags. In Edgewater, 2 of them are 24-hour accessible. This is Mango Tree Lake. Basically, all you have to do is show your ID, and you can get up to 15 sandbags that the city provides. For the Phillips, it's not their first rodeo. Every year they prepare, this time to prevent flooding to their Florida Shores home.
15, we put them in front of our door and our garage door, backyard. It's up for grabs at this point.
What do you think about this particular storm?
We've been doing this. It gets tired.
There's been a lot of development in the area, so there's been a lot of increase in flooding in our neighborhood, so that's why we're taking the precautions to make the area safer.
Amber Belmonte has been here all day helping to fill bags for other families.
People are scared. People's houses have flooded, and my husband and I have done remodels and stuff, and that's what we do for work. And we just watch so many people have to rebuild their homes and start over. It's scary. I don't know. It's emotional.
You've been helping Mom, making sure that everything's safe at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? It's something else with these hurricanes,
yeah.
isn't it?
They've been flooding other people's houses, and we hope it doesn't affect our house and stuff.
The sandbags, the preparations are all in place for a reason.
Make sure our community's safe.
Volusia County also announced a curfew, which will be from 8 p.m. Wednesday, October 9th to 8 a.m. Thursday, October 10th. Now, don't break the law because you could get in trouble. You could receive up to a $500 fine or 60 days in jail. Of course, employees of businesses, industry, and government are exempt, as well as law enforcement and rescue personnel. I'm Gail Pascal Brown in Volusia County for WESH 2 News.
Gail, thank you. A lot of people heeding the signs, guys, to prepare, especially what you guys have been talking about, those strong winds, the potential for storm surge along the coast, all the stuff that Milton could be bringing towards us.
Listen, this could rival Charlie as far as the winds go, and that's a strong statement right there, and that's what I believe. That's what I'm seeing right now, especially in that Four Corners region. Based on what we're seeing, the trends tonight have come up, 10 miles higher than what we were looking at earlier today. So
that makes a difference between having power and not having power.
Yeah, well, I'm literally telling folks, expect to lose power. Consider yourself lucky if you have power after Milton passes us, because as Tony mentioned earlier, we're talking about easily Category 1, possibly low-end Cat 2 strength winds, especially for that area, the Four Corners region. It does weaken a little bit the farther east it goes, but still we're looking at substantial impacts, because think about it, the ground is so wet from all the days and days of rain that we've had, and now you're bringing a Cat 1, possibly low-end Cat 2 winds in. You're talking about power outages and probably trees being knocked down.
Yeah, so when I say Charlie, I'm just talking about the winds. Charlie was about 105. This is not going to be moving as fast as Charlie. Size-wise, this is probably going to be a little bit bigger than Charlie. But the effects, I think, are going to be fairly similar, especially wherever that core of the storm goes, the eye. Right around that eye is where we're going to have the strongest winds. And in that corridor, Cam's absolutely right. That's where we're going to have those power outages. So we'll be, again, we're in that precision point now of the forecast, fine-tuning on where the strongest winds are going to be, because that's a big problem. We know that on the northern side of that eye, there's going to be a lot of rain versus the southern side. So these are the things we're just going to literally kind of fine-tune. We've got a solid 24 hours to really hone in on that. We give you those county-by-county graphics, both live, and they're always constantly being updated as well on WESH.com. So if you don't see it in a certain hit, don't get mad at us. We only get 2 minutes to basically go through a bunch of maps, and it's very hard to rush through 8 or 9 counties. So that's why I just want you to know you can find them in multiple locations, not just here on live TV. We take a look now at Wednesday, 8 p.m., 125. That's a major hurricane from a 3 to a 2 in the Four Corners area, down to a 1, and still pretty strong here with 80-mile-an-hour winds along the eastern side of the peninsula. So we're going to be dealing with some storm surge on the backside of that storm. The thing that's going to be weakening this storm from a Cat 5 down to a Cat 3, I want to make sure people understand this is still a major hurricane, is the drier air and the wind shear that's up in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. We take a look down Milton here, and you can see there's the storm. Eye is filled in a little bit, but it's right in the center of that cone from the 11 o'clock advisory. So we're right on schedule. You take a look at the models tonight, maybe a little bit to the south in some of the tropical models. The global models, though, follow the H-Wharf, which is another tropical model in the H-Mod, a very reliable model that comes from Tampa Bay, downtown Orlando, and then back over towards northern Brevard County before it exits stage east by the time we get to about 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. Because of that track, it's right in the heart of Central Florida. Hurricane warnings and watches. This will likely be upgraded tomorrow to warnings along the eastern side of the peninsula. So for me, remains a Cat 5 through Tuesday, maybe even early Wednesday morning. We're fine-tuning the forecast as this makes landfall with those county-by-county graphics. And then Wednesday night and Thursday, we're in it. But I think by about noon from southwest to northeast, Cam, things will begin to improve. It's just going to be a day of cleanup, most likely.
And that's right. And here's a look at some of those county-by-county impacts that you were talking about earlier. We'll start off with our far western counties, Marion County. We are expecting very strong winds here, winds well over 75 miles per hour for impacts here in Marion County, including out towards Osceola County, Osceola as well as Denellen here. Here's a look at the impacts. We are expecting winds sustained of 50 to 65 miles per hour, gusts well over 75 at times, and rainfall amounts 6 to 8 inches, with some localized areas getting higher than that because you'll be on the northern band of the system where we're going to see some of the heaviest rain amounts with Milton. So again, it's going to be big impacts for this area. Let's go to our next county. We're expecting Lake County. We're expecting winds of 85 miles per hour plus, especially in the far southern portions of the county. We are expecting wind gusts as strong as 90 there in Claremont. Winds sustained about 60 to 70 miles per hour. Rainfall amounts about 4 to 8 inches of rainfall there, with the worst of the weather late Wednesday night into Thursday. Now let's head out towards Sumter County. Winds of 65 to 75 miles per hour, gust over 90, especially in the far southern portions of the county. 5 to 8 inches of rainfall, but localized areas could get well over 10 inches of rain. And as we look ahead into the coastal counties, Brevard County here, wind gusts well over 80 miles per hour, sustained winds of 60 to 70, 3 to 7 inches of rainfall on top of everything that we've seen already. Worst of the weather again late Wednesday into Thursday. Here's a look at Volusia County. We are expecting sustained winds of 55 to 65 miles per hour, gusts over 75. Rainfall amounts 6 to 10 inches of rain because, again, you'll be on the northern band of the system. Storm surge watch in effect for Volusia County as well. 2 to 4 foot storm surge expected there, with the worst of weather about late Wednesday night into Thursday. And finally, we'll wrap up with Flagler County. We're expecting 6 to 10 inches of additional rainfall. Wind gusts well over 75 miles per hour. Winds sustained, though, 55 to 65. And we are expecting storm surge as well. You're under storm surge watch, with storm surge as high as 5 feet there along the coast of Flagler County. We are expecting conditions to go downhill Wednesday and Thursday, which is why they're first warning weather days. But after Milton leaves, we get some sunshine and cooler weather for the upcoming weekend. More news after the break.
From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
Right now, Hurricane Milton, still a powerful Category 5 hurricane, just moving by Cancun in the Gulf.
Coming up in the next hour, our first warning weather team has impacts that you could see in your county.